We promise we're nearly ready. If we haven't made it so complicated.
We've got some sales room. They've finished so complicated. A glass of water.
Sorry, this is what I brought from home.
You brought a light from home?
Okay.
Okay.
I think we
Right.
might be in a position to start.
I know she didn't say we were
What do you
ready.
mean to turn it?
I hope I've just blanked it out so you couldn't see my super secret preparations.
The super secret.
Shall we see if that's true or not? I've got a starting slide.
Great, let's have one of them. I'm standing in front of it.
Yeah. You have to worry about that.
I'll go to one side.
Oh no, it's the wrong size. Hang on.
Excuse us for another moment.
Uh,
So this
Distract us.
session, thank you, I'll do that. This session seemed like a marvellous idea 3 months ago. And we had a number of times in our diary where we would practice and rehearse our session for today. And they all got sacrificed on the altar of last minute deadlines and client meetings, etc. And so our session was yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
We've got so this is actually a very accurate slide at the moment.
Yeah, but
I'm saying
there is an
that-
apology, isn't there? Because we're in contravention of the Trade Descriptions Act. It said we would bring a
yes,
paper
that's
prototype around choosing sessions in a conference. We kind of failed to actually do that. So we brought something else instead. I think it'll be just as much fun, but it's not about conferences.
No, but that's okay.
Now we can probably start.
Right, paper prototyping, pulp prototyping. This is a bit GUI based. If anyone doesn't want to step anywhere near a GUI, now would be an ideal time to leave. Good, that's a good start, no one's left yet. Paper prototyping is the act of exploring a potential interface before you've really started thinking about it. So if Agile is about smaller steps, if Agile is about showing working code earlier, paper prototyping is about showing something before you've even coded it.
So we've been making mistakes on the internet now for, 40
You
years?
started about 1998 making mistakes on the
yeah.
internet?
And I've made some really big ones. And Harry, you've made a fair share
Oh,
as well. I'm sure you also
sorry,
too.
a number.
And about the only thing we've really learned is that it's better to make them faster and as soon as possible and as small and cheap as possible.
Yeah. Otherwise, you get into that terrible situation where you start off the project, everyone's happy, we've got some Photoshop scams, you work, you test, you might test, you work, you deliver. There is one big meeting at the end where you show the fruits of your labour to the customer or the business or whoever,
Or you go
and
live.
they say, I don't like that.
Or it's broken.
Or it doesn't work for me, or it doesn't work for our user, or it doesn't meet the requirements. And you say, but there was a functional spec and it does that to the letter. And they say, yes, to the letter. We'd like the spirit, please. We'd like happy. We'd like you to enjoy this interaction.
This is kind of this is a perfect example of a kind of mistake piggy bank, where you're secretly putting your mistakes in a bank, which you're saving up for a special occasion.
And the special occasion is the big meeting at the end. So we have lots of small meetings really, really early on.
So, we like to make our mistakes early and ideally make as many mistakes as possible before we start writing code, because code can be a bit expensive. I enjoy writing it, you not so much.
Stripe your shirt,
Yeah.
notice.
Check. But so paper prototyping for us is about getting mistakes out of the way as fast as possible. It's very low fidelity. Why did we come across it? It was Channel 4, wasn't it?
In the beginning, there was, in 2008, we were engaged by Channel 4 to build a little a Bebo app. That's how long this is ago. A Bebo app. To make young people help in their sort of self-awareness, their journey.
They were considering porting to Facebook later, but no one was sure whether Facebook was going to be a thing.
No, it might not have taken off. That was a big mistake, actually. So they said, well, we'd like to explore doing this with you because we've met you and worked at the BBC.
And
How does that feel?
We thought that's great because we like money and working.
And working with Channel 4, that's kind of cool, right? And then they said, well, it's for teenagers. And I looked at him and he looked at me and we observed the
And they
obvious.
seem to have some concerns about our ability to effectively engage with this market segment, who were 13 to 15-year-old
Goths, geeks, and
girls.
emos. Yeah.
And we were being fat blokes in
Yeah.
middle age.
So we needed a tool set for that, and I think you might have seen on a YouTube video or something.
Oh, I saw a thing which I'm not going to show now because I didn't put it in.
No, we should have done that.
But we did have a moment
A revelatory moment. Now, I know this building's a little bit Christian, so I'm sorry about the metaphor, but we had a moment of revelation.
It was dancing, I tell you. We found
this
book.
We found the book.
Yeah.
And the book was Paper Prototyping by Carolyn Schneider. If you get one lesson from today,
It's
if
buy this
that
book.
lesson was buy and read this book, that would be just dandy.
If there's anything we say which seems good, she probably wrote it in the
Yep.
book.
Anything we say that seems bad, that's all of us.
So we found the book, and we convinced Channel 4 that if we followed the book, then we couldn't possibly go wrong.
And they were desperate for someone to live by Christmas.
And
so
they really
agreed.
wanted to be told that sort of thing.
So, we found the book. We started making our first paper prototypes.
So this is a bit where we talk about what a paper prototype is,
Yes.
and what a paper prototype isn't.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah, woodchip. Good.
Yeah.
So, what isn't a paper prototype?
Is it a wireframe?
God no, because wireframes are static, and we're talking about interaction rather than states. No, it's not alpha code. This is going to be fun, isn't it? It's not alpha code because alpha code, well, it's just too slow coding compared to scissors and paper.
Yeah.
Is it?
So hang on, I'm going to do that.
Oh, no. No, you see, that's fun.
So lastly, is it a mock-up?
God damn it, I hope not. Because I've spent too long looking at Photoshop scamps and trying to work out what on earth the steps are between that Photoshop scamp and the next Photoshop scamp.
So
Not a Photoshop scamp.
So this is one. Well, so it is loads and loads of paper, which is when we talk about stationery fetishes. I think.
Is anyone in the room able to confess a stationery fetish? Good people, you are amongst friends. So let us bring out the tools of our trade.
Yeah, I've got the bag.
There's the bag.
I've got a little slide about tools.
Oh, yes, stationery fetish tools. Smooth like ninjas in freeze frame. Okay, so these are the tools of our trade.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Some of them may not chroma key very well. This is sellotape.
Sellotape, not chroma keys. Scissors, very, very important.
Glue tack. Glue. Bigger scissors.
If it all goes wrong, knives.
You're familiar with all this stuff, right? But the best.
Post-it notes we haven't mentioned, but we're really keen on post-it notes.
But the bestest thing in the paper prototyping library is off screen, is conventions. So one of the reasons we were so attracted to paper prototyping, I'm a developer. Harry, as it says, is a stripy shirt. You figure out what that means.
He's a resource. I'm an overhead.
One of the reasons we're attracted to paper prototyping is because neither of us can draw. Okay, but through the magic of convention.
Importantly, we have found that beautiful graphic design can't cover up lousy user experience. So graphical design is how you make something which is already marvellous look great too.
So you're going to build your paper. We build paper prototypes out of conventional bits of interface. I'm going to show you the convention for doing a picture. You're probably familiar with that one. What's nice about this is it enhances my drawing skills because I can make perfect art. Okay. The other thing, what else? Conventional elements.
Other conventional elements.
We do a lot of stuff. Did a lot of stuff on social networks. So profile pictures are kind of important. Sometimes, text. The
never
internet is
turns
full
up.
of text.
But it never turns out to be a project.
Yes.
So
it's called Greeking. You must have come across that. So Greek your text, and if you're, we'll get to it over.
We'll do that in a bit. Yeah. Greeking text means there'll be some text there, but it's probably not.
There are some interesting things though. I mean, so you might be thinking, what about real proper interface elements? But this is an interesting example. You see the done, maybe a done button, sort of just over there. But you see, this is actually a done button. It's interesting how little difference there is between those two things.
It's shown a bit more clearly if we could just hold this up for a second, because clearly, I mean, this is a done button because it is a separate interface element. I mean, obviously this has some sort of semanticity behind it, so we're semantic as well as being involved in it.
Blue tack equals affordance. So you can make things, you can give things affordance by layering them up on bits of paper. Okay.
Yeah. Next.
Oh, slow computers. This is a gag for laser.
It's a bit late for that now, isn't it?
So here's a familiar bit of interface. I watched this for 4 hours last night whilst updating a Windows machine.
He's not bitter at all. He didn't just leave the office unused to using Windows, press the shutdown button, and then had to wait 4 hours for all the
doesn't
updates.
happen on Unix. So these are all bits and pieces that you might use. There are some more sophisticated things as well, which I've seen.
Show them, they're behind you. They're
Oh
behind you.
yeah, okay.
Show the sophisticated elements.
This is brilliant. Acetate is brilliant. You can do almost anything with acetate. But here's some random bits of, and maybe you're thinking, what about mapping interfaces?
Corkboard.
What about interactive mapping interfaces? With pins.
Interfaces with a pin.
What about? I mean, look, you can go all fancy. This is from that 2008 interface.
No, 2009. That's from
No,
Bookstore.
next one on.
Yeah.
But look, you can use stuff you cut out to do lists. What else have I got here? I've got dialogue boxes.
Drop downs. Have you got a drop down?
There you
Oh,
go.
dialogue boxes are good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
nice,
there
isn't it?
dialogue box. We like those.
Oh, this is a bit of chaos, but this one might have been done around a bit. But
Is this because we just raided the place where all the bits of prototype go to die?
you can see how.
So look, I mean, an image slideshow rather than just a static image. I mean, this is sophisticated stuff.
It's interesting to note that we said this wasn't a wireframe earlier, and I think that probably a lot of you are looking at this and thinking it looks like a wireframe, just really shit. But we hope to demonstrate later on that this is not a wireframe. But we can do drop-down lists when you click on things. Look.
Yeah.
See? We can do scrollable lists with check boxes. This one had to be resorted. Took a while.
So we showed the computer going slowly.
Yes. But you can resort lists. I'm not going to do that. That would be very bored.
Show the phone interface. I think is worth examining. It's on the floor next to the door.
Yeah, okay. So this is. People say it's difficult to do scrolling in paper prototyping. No, it's. It's easy. You just have to not care that it's all social.
For our sins, we did on one occasion. We had the content for this app. This is that we did it just before Christmas for the Mental Health Foundation. We actually had all the content. We printed it all out onto A4. It was about 20 yards long. We rolled it up on two inner tubes from kitchen roll holders. And when we scrolled the interface to find the right bit of content, your man Frank had one of the toilet roll holders and I had the other, and we actually scrolled it. And we will talk about advantages later.
And why that's more than just funny.
Yeah.
It is funny, but it's more than just funny.
You just covered up the place where we're sitting, bits of stuff.
So it's just use it in there. It's not
Well,
yes.
I suppose that's true. Yes, right.
So you can now imagine what a paper prototype might look like. We'll show you one more formally in a minute.
More formally even than that.
But what we really want to talk about, and what the magic, so you can see how you can do this stuff. You could do this stuff in the early stages of a project yourself. All you need is the scissors and stuff. But that's not where the actual magic is it? The magic is when paper prototype meets actual folk.
Yeah.
So we're going to spend most of our time actually talking about how you use the paper prototype that you've built, because the building it is kind of obvious and Blue Peterish. So we're going to talk, there you go, that's the cue. We're going to talk about the kind of test environment that you might be in. Roles. We're going to talk about roles. So
Yeah.
I'm going to,
That's the first part.
I want you to imagine that there's a paper prototype on a table. And then we're going to talk about the sorts of people who might be in there. But nobody's actually most important in this, so I'm going to drop that word.
Someone who is quite handy is the computer. As we said, this isn't a wireframe, this is a prototype, and it really works. But it really works through the medium of somebody who is the computer, who shuffles bits of cardboard around a lot.
They need to know this interface. They need to know what its expected behaviours are. They need to know where all of their little bits of card and their scissors and all that stuff are, so that when the person who's using the interface, let's call them the operator.
Because it sounds a bit matrixy,
Yes.
operator. And user is always such a meh sort of word. I
Or
think.
tester.
Yeah, because you're not testing the user, you're testing
Yeah.
the prototype.
So let's say operator for now. But so the computer has to be responsive to the operator's actions, which means they have to know where all the bits of cardboard are, but critically they have to know how the system has been intended to behave in the design discussions that far, and they have to be prepared to kind of make some stuff up as they go along, because users will do things, operators will do things that you don't expect them to do, which is kind of the point of the exercise. There's also going to be somebody in the room, almost certainly, who we think of as the facilitator. They've got a couple of jobs. Their biggest job is mostly to shut up, and take some notes, make some introductions, but they do have a bit of wheel greasing to do, which we'll cover in the next section.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And there might be an observer kicking around. Later on you're all going to be observers. Not not the most unintimidating test setup that we've ever run, but
Normally sort of 1 or 2 observers is quite good. We like to get developers who'll be working on the thing into the room to watch it being used.
yeah, or maybe there's somebody like they call them stakeholders, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, a stakeholder who wants to see that the system is going to do whatever it is that it's supposed to do. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes we call those customers.
Customers, yeah, I remember them. Now we have one bit of secret sauce here, which already differs from most. You can see in a way that's like a usability lab test setup, except that they can be a bit more intimidating. The computer's a real computer. The facilitator shows you the room, gives you a task and sits you down and shuts the door and all that kind of stuff. But these people are probably in the room. But also, we often break all the rules by doing this. Sorry, you can't read that.
That.
Whoa, 2? Yeah. So when you put 2 people down in front of a prototype, conversations almost immediately start happening. And in those conversations is the core of what you're going to learn. Remember that this is low fidelity testing. This isn't, we haven't got eye tracking and all of that kind of stuff. We're not dealing with massive sample populations. Maybe you're testing a case with how many operators? 7?
Yeah.
And most people who do this reckon that after you've done this 7 times with any given interface, you've probably learned about 90% of what you would learn from a focus study with maybe 100, 150 users.
And we can make those.
Sure, you're going to miss some stuff, but hell, it's made out of cards. You're going to miss some stuff anyway, right? But the trick is to get this done early. A small number of people, cheap, fast, easy.
Next.
What have we got? Yeah, okay, so it's the setup.
Okay.
I'm going to wipe.
If we had a soundtrack, this would be that music from The Sting at this point. I'm not going to try and sing that.
Welcoming the setup. I've got some. Yeah. Okay. So
Key points that you get across to the operators at the beginning of paper prototyping.
yeah, these are big deals. Okay, big deals. We've got this one. It's very easy if you walk into a usability lab or any test scenario where you're exposed to something to imagine that when you can't figure out how it works or you can't do the task you've been set, that you're at fault, right? That you're stupid, slow, clumsy, dull-witted. This happens to all of us all the time. It's critical to assure your operators that what you are testing is the card stack in front of them and not them themselves. Now, you can only go so far to doing that, but making it really explicit actually helps a lot.
And charming self-deprecation and waving pairs of scissors around apparently is reassuring too. Your finger is the mouse. So you as the operator... we were so proud of that guy. So your finger is the mouse. You're on a computer screen. The paper artifact is an imaginary computer program at the very early stage of development. Your finger, you the operator, your finger, and when I say you, I probably mean him. Your finger, the operator, your finger is the mouse. Unless you're on a phone
mobile, for example, where your finger is your finger. And it's even easier. Still say it. Still say it, because not everybody expects to get tactile with the thing immediately in front of them.
Next.
Yeah, okay, so there's thinking out loud.
Yep. So, I imagine we've all been in testing sessions where someone says something like, oh yes, this is really easy to use. And you're watching their hand wander around the screen, trying desperately to find the next button
that they want.
So think out loud and be honest, please, as well. Yeah. We are not here to hear this interface is perfect because it's max a day's work with a pair of scissors. It won't be perfect yet. We're here to have it criticised.
This is part of the critical role of the facilitator. When I said they mostly shut up, most of what a facilitator will spend their time doing is reminding the operator, asking them very open questions about what they're thinking at different points in time. When you first load a new screen, you'll say, well, tell me what catches your eye. And you'll remind them to articulate their thought process. It's quite hard, not everybody finds it easy to do, but the more you can get verbally out of your operators, then the more insights you'll gather more quickly.
One thing, and that's also very a bit easier when there's 2 of them, because if they're having a conversation, they are by default externalising their thought processes.
Putting people at ease. One of our favourites is the wonky slow computer.
So your computer will have the little bit of interface that's probably somewhere on the floor right now. Oh yes, yeah, this one. Your computer will have one of these, which they will stick on the
while they're madly
trying to work out what on earth to do.
Explaining that the PC that they're using at the moment is much slower than the one they have at home is handy. Also, if the computer gives reassuring beeping noises,
beep,
that helps.
So this is all really a process of getting somebody really relaxed about beating your interface to death, because it ain't perfect yet.
But it's also about not being in a test environment like you're in an alien autopsy lab where someone walks in and their eyes are strapped open and the clean room door swings shut and a disembodied voice reads out, your task is to navigate to the sales section. Don't do it. Sorry,
No, that's fine. No, I told everyone we'd get messianic.
Yeah, it's going to get worse.
Next.
Okay, so we've talked a bit about the setup in terms of putting people at their ease. Scenarios. Anyone come across scenario-based design at some point in their lives, or heard that thing floated around?
Thank you, Frank.
Wow, it's Frank. Okay. It's about pirates. It's not about pirates.
It's about the scenario, the situation, which the person which the operator might find themselves in when they come across this interface for the first time.
Yeah. It's a combination of the situation and the need. Some of us use those as the starting points for developing a new piece of software or a new product in the first place.
User stories, anyone?
Yeah, kind of.
It's a similar thing.
It's a similar thing. Yeah. And you can use these to kick off your design discussions, but you can also use it to frame the context of a testing session for an operator.
Particularly when you're testing quite a large, complex system, where a particular story is the one you want to examine in some detail.
As a bit of bullet points, you could read them out.
Yeah, that's fine.
It'd be like PowerPoint.
Yeah. Sets, content. Yeah. Just.
But it's, in essence, a scenario is a mission. I mean, you might say, if you were developing some kind of TV application on your mobile phone, a scenario might be that you are at home and you have heard from a friend that there's a good TV show called X that you think you're interested in, but you don't know what time it is on.
So a TV guide app might be the sort of thing you might prototype.
And it helps people get into the mood, helps people role play the situation a little, which again unlocks some of their creative juices when they're talking to you.
Yeah.
But scenarios are also good if they help you focus on particular path elements in your application. If you can think of the scenario which would drive a user to a particular part of your interface, then design your scenarios to try and send them gently along those lines.
And if they fail to get there, your interface is not yet good enough.
Yeah,
congratulations. Change it.
A good scenario is also
explorative.
It's exploratory. It should allow exploration. So open-ended tasks are excellent in scenarios.
Okay. So we did some planning for this session, and we imagined that the speaking we've done so far would last a quarter of an hour.
How did it go?
Well,
about a quarter of an hour.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Next bit.
Yeah, so this is a bit where it might go badly wrong. No, how can it go wrong? It's just paper. We'd like to run a couple of test sessions right now. We've got a computer. I'll tell you what I'm going to do though, because I was going to put the paper prototype on a beautiful background of wood, but because I'm getting a bit of bounce back from the lights and it's messing with the chroma key, I am instead going to knock out the chroma key channel, so things are going to go green for a bit. Distract them, Harry, while I do that.
I was lost in wood chip. So we have imagined a small app. The small app is called Stressland. Stressland is a place you go to examine the different causes of your stress and to perhaps take some small steps towards finding out where you might go to get some help with those sorts of stress.
Yeah, it's probably it might be a mobile interface.
Could be a mobile interface. Could be just responsive.
Could be a website. Yeah.
So let's start building Stressland.
I could go higher up.
No, that's fine. That'll be fine.
Enough there?
Yeah, all good. Okay, so Stressland. What might you have in this sort of app? You might have some little personifications of your stress. Actually, if we do go a little bit further down, I might get a bit of me here. So we might imagine that Stressland is populated by little bugs.
Are you writing bugs on those?
I am writing bugs. I mean, not very well, obviously, but I am writing bugs on those. So let's imagine that Stressland is populated by a few little buggy type images which wander around the screen like this. Okay, and let's imagine that you might want to learn more about your stress. So you might want to identify, you might want to read about some stress. We haven't really explained this interface to the lovely user yet, so we probably need some.
We probably
help
need a splash
text.
screen on startup.
Yeah, and then we would need a scenario, and then we would need
A facilitator.
a facilitator, and a computer,
Can we have a plucky volunteer?
and an operator. It doesn't have to be you.
I'm happy.
It's just
That's very kind.
Just
thank
by
you
sheer
very much.
convenience
By
of
sheer
sitting here.
convenience, it just happens.
So, I mean, after all we said a moment ago about how we need to de-stress the testing environment, we're now testing a stress-related application in front of a crowd. but you've got your back to them, so they can't see you.
There's no one here in my
There's no
mind.
one here.
no one
I
here.
don't think imagine them naked. I'm imagining them behind me.
Just even better.
And also, this is a shoddy interface. I mean, how long did it take?
I think we did it about an hour and a half yesterday.
Yeah, so when it's wrong,
And that included the thinking.
it's wrong. So we're going to need a scenario, aren't
Yep.
we? So I'd like you to imagine, to help you, I'm going to ask you to imagine that you're maybe 19.
I imagine that every day.
Our target audience is maybe a touch younger than you. And I'd like you to imagine that you've had a stressful day at your job. That means you're not in further education at the moment. I think you might work Boots. Okay, you work in Boots, it's been a rubbish day, there's a manager on your back. You've come home, it's a bit rubbish. And you have had a note from, you know that stress is a problem for you, actually. You've been considering possibly even talking to your GP about it, but you haven't done so yet. And you have seen what's the point of contact, Harry? I haven't got one.
Someone said something on a forum or on Facebook. Someone said,
Yeah, okay. You saw something in the stream on Facebook talking about an app about stress, and that has driven you this far. Okay.
So, if you'd like to relax, if that's possible,
I
imagine.
can't have had a stressful day.
That's brilliant.
And what I'd like you to do is just imagine that you click that ad in the sidebar of Facebook, and you've ended up at this screen. And I'd like you to tell me what's going through your mind.
Probably not a huge amount of concern about the app itself. I'm concerned about myself, not what I'm about to see.
Cool. So you're thinking about your stress, and the text in the middle.
This is some text which says something like, Stressland is about helping you with your stress. Stressland is populated by little creatures called stressits, which wander around and help you think about your stress. I've forgotten to write a piece of interface here.
Remember Think Bob? Okay.
Very good.
Noted. So your finger is a mouse. You feel free to manipulate the interface any way you like.
I'm supposed to be super honest, as an
Absolutely.
19-year-old. I wouldn't.
Oh, when you clicked on that and started moving it, you got a and the following things happened. I'm looking for the piece of interface which had the word identify.
Identifying big and pulsating, it pulsates.
That piece of interface which I have prepared somewhere.
It's on the floor by the table leg.
Oh,
To your left.
bless
Left.
you.
Oh, there you go.
Harry
Left? No,
goes.
the other left, you mean?
There.
No, not that.
Stress.
No, that's a later on piece of interface. Oh dear, did we mention the vital importance of being
Getting stuff in
prepared?
order and not throwing things all over.
No.
Okay.
Right.
But
that
quickly,
identify.
we've made a new one. That's the bottom of your view.
Cool. So,
As you touched it,
as you touched it and started to move it, that piece of interface started pulsing.
Okay.
then you let go.
He did let go, you're right.
Okay, so presumably.
When you click on that piece of interface, you get. Why did we throw everything on the floor?
None of this is relevant.
Help text. Recommending help text on this. And
This is all crap from earlier.
Well, that's no.
done it.
I think I've got my new computer.
It's really sad.
Beep.
And now it's making noises.
Elle's feeling really stressed.
I can't
It is useful if you've built it first.
So when you clicked on that, which should be Greek text, really,
Read
I'll
it out
do it
loud.
quickly. It says something like, you haven't identified any stresses yet.
Okay.
And the button seems to say done.
Okay, so I would do that, and then I would know that I had to click on this, and then I would have to hit my identify button because it's told me that I have to identify.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, and the interface is broken already, isn't it?
Because
Yeah,
I have to
as
take
soon
my
as you
finger
are- yeah,
off.
you've got to take your
the
finger off that to
switch
do-
is going to come out.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Take the notes, yes, take the notes, that's very good.
So are these buzzing around?
They are gently moving.
Would I struggle to hit them?
No, I would hope not, but they are gently moving around.
And so I would try and use 2 fingers in that case to get that to flick over and then hit identify. But then I'd think, oh, why has this just made me do that? And then I'd be more stressed. So I'd have to use my other hand when I'm on Facebook.
So at the moment it would be in this state, and we've already if I was the computer I wouldn't say this, but I have to note we've already identified several very serious flaws in our interface, which is brilliant.
Yes, thank you. You've been very helpful.
Yeah, fabulous.
Just talking out loud.
Just
is
great.
excellent.
I would also think that if I was 19, small bugs flying around might be a bit too young for me.
Okay.
I would think that I would probably want a list because I'm getting older and lists are probably more important to me. And so yeah, I would press that and I'd hit identify and I would hope.
If you'd like to press it, press. Okay, so you press that, that happens.
Then I hit identify. I want to identify my stress.
When you do that, nothing.
And I'm going to call the session there.
Let's call the session there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
In that first experiment, we learned something which I think probably most of us in the room knew, which is that drag and drop doesn't work on the internet.
So
Show the interaction as the designer had originally envisaged.
Stupid designer, that'll be me. We imagined that you would click on the stresses,
And the
drag
identify
it
button would
to
pulsate
the
and you would
identify
naturally
button.
drag it.
and then you go to the next screen.
But
Turns out that's
nobody
not
drags and drops stuff. Nobody, not on the internet.
If it had shown me that was like beforehand, if it had demoed it to me.
Okay, let's do that now. Let's try it. So one suggestion to fix that would be to add a kind of a path overlay of some sort. Like, for example, a piece of acetate.
Oh, acetate's always good.
Yeah.
Where's your big piece of acetate?
And I would really like a red pen, but I don't think I've got one, so I'll use a Sharpie because that's what they're for. So.
I got a little bit.
So let's imagine, Harry, just demo this for me.
Imagine I'm the user, I will click.
Would that help, sir?
Yes, I would think, oh, I've got to move where that arrow is.
I will
Yeah.
use a click.
Okay, so we've just iterated once. I know this is only in a tiny way, but we've just performed one full iteration of a software product in less than 5 minutes, right? I know it's a tiny thing, but you get the idea.
If I just recapitulate it, when you clicked on the on this, what did you think that icon was going to do? What did you think that icon was?
I thought it was going to bring down a list of things for me to read.
Yeah, which is its eventual
Which it could
intention.
do.
Yeah.
Which it could do.
But it's not quite ready yet. Maybe it shouldn't be there right
Maybe you're right. Maybe we shouldn't be
Because there's
showing
nothing to
this
read.
interface.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would de-stress the situation a bit.
An alternative, it seems to me at the moment we have 2 pieces of interface, both of which are about identifying, thinking about stress. Maybe we just don't need this one. Maybe we just get rid of that feature
And see what happens.
and see what happens.
So
We've got no minutes to go.
what time are we supposed to finish?
15:15, but goddamn it, we're going to carry on. If anyone wants to leave and go to lunch, please do so.
Oh, shall we
because I'm on
evangelize?
the flow now. Oh, Oh, can we show the next screen?
Yeah. This is where we fall apart in chaos, but we've got
Yeah.
I think 4 major points left to make, so bear with us.
Right, okay. So another piece of interaction we were going to put in, we were very proud of, was if you had just clicked and held, we were going to do that,
Yeah.
and then that bug was going to disappear. So you had dealt with your stress. We
There's a
also
whole-
had a whole other screen. We had a screen called Identify This Stress It, which allowed you to get the thing and the thing and the other thing.
Slider.
We had a size slider, we had a place where you could look at your stress it, we had type, we had name, we had subtype, we had, we weren't sure if we have a done button or not. Let me show you the size slider. So the idea was that if you use this as a size slider, we would replace this small graphic with that slightly larger graphic, that slightly larger graphic, that very small graphic, and then if triumphantly you returned back to the first screen, then you would see 3 very small stress-its and 1 really big stress-it, which is clearly important to you. So there's all these things which we would take a look at in later
And it
iterations.
becomes clear to the perspective, to
the educated observer
that what's going on here is we are targeting a slightly overcomplicated search interface to a database of personal health information about stress.
So
what's going on here?
that might be the call to action at the bottom of the page. Once you have given a stressing
You're off the screen.
a
sorry.
type, oh sorry, once you've given the stress it a type and a subtype, we might imagine that type might be peers and colleagues.
Hey, they don't want to know about this
Subtype
application,
career
they
path.
want to know
No,
about
you're
the whole
probably
thing.
right. So the whole thing is.
This is where we do the evangelical bit really, really fast.
So the evangelical bit.
Why is this better than, say, wireframing or Agile or a really nicely done Photoshop file or anything like that? We've lost our order, so we're just going to spout, right?
Yeah, I think the first way in which it's better is that it nails interaction. Because excuse my bias, a Photoshop scan showing the drop target for the identify action and a graphic for a bug doesn't show you that people just don't think to drag and drop, because drag and drop isn't how you use the internet. So better because examines interaction.
It's democratic.
It's democratic because everyone
Can wield
can
the
wield a pair of scissors.
In some
There's
nice-
no barrier in between the operator making comments on an interface and the all-powerful, all-knowing, if slightly slow and buggy computer demonstrating the interface.
In some of our most successful sessions, we've seen, for example, in pair operators, where you have 2 operators discussing, we like to leave the scissors and the Sharpies and bits of card around the edge of the interface, because when it really gets going, you'll find your test users, your operators, are actually picking up those scissors and making their own adaptations to the prototype as they go along. There's no longer any gatekeeper. Even with Photoshop, you need to know how to drive Photoshop, and it's slow. With Agile or a technical demo, then there's a technical gatekeeper somewhere who knows how to drive that application. They could be the best person in the world at it, and they might be able to take suggestions and implement them in less than 30 seconds. I totally respect that. But there's something about letting real people who are your real target users actually make those adaptations for themselves, which is intensely powerful and really leveling.
So it's about interactions, it's democratic.
It defeats consensus, compromise. If you get a lot of people involved, a lot of stakeholders involved in the kind of early stage design of something like a health app, like Stress It, then you can find that if you document the process of discovery, then you end up with documents where everybody thinks they know what you're talking about. You know, there's the kind of consensus that the document represents the gestalt of the group in terms of what the application will do and what it will look like,
And even
or how it
worse,
will behave.
even worse, in a document, if someone really wants a feature and they're really advocating for it, it can tend to just slip in on page 12.
Yeah, especially if you're agile, because you know that you can probably drop it later if it turns out not to be all that important after all, but it's still in the damn document. And someone in the room is still absolutely certain that probably the most important feature on the home page of the new website will be the thing that they've been talking about for the last week.
Picture of them.
With a paper prototype, you have a tangible asset between between all the people who are discussing this application, which helps to defeat, it inoculates you against those misunderstandings in that sense.
So it's a focus. It's a focus for quite a directed conversation in that case.
Yeah.
In that sense. Now there are probably more advantages that we've forgotten. However, I'm interested in thinking about disadvantages now, and I'd
Yeah.
like to open up the floor. So we've got a stack of things we think it's bad at. Yes.
We did this once with with a group of users, and we gave them to teach them how to design their own websites, gave them all this information, and what we found was some groups there were dominant characters. So sometimes the group mix weren't ideal, and
Yep.
literally people were just walking around going, I can't deal with it. Other groups worked amazingly well, but I think the dynamics of the individuals, but you get that anyway, but that was one downfall. That was
Yeah, the way in which we try and minimise that is by having 1 or 2 people as the operators.
We had 4. I think.
So rather than having a group, it's 1 or 2 people who are doing the discussion, which means it takes longer, of course.
Yeah.
And the facilitator's job is largely to keep quiet unless they're absolutely necessary, unless something to say is necessary.
It's also
The observer's job is definitely to shut up and take frantic notes on post-its.
it is. Yeah, sorry, we'll take
So,
it.
do you actually physically take notes, or do you record this? Do you record?
Well, we
the
have
section?
recorded it, usually when we need to show it to a stakeholder who couldn't be present because they're
Weakness.
important.
This, for remote working, this is problematic. Okay, you could do it over video conferencing.
The sessions tape well. The sessions tape really well. And
They're
Well,
normally
it's
quite
more
quick.
that I was thinking about the playback. So as you're in the process of observing, taking notes, you
Yeah.
frequently miss things. And
Yeah,
sometimes
that's true.
people, we're talking about dominant characters.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can get a golden nugget come out of left field, which
No,
you may
video,
have
video
sort
and
of
audio
maybe
synced is
play
gold.
back and.
And,
We
Yeah.
probably,
Those things-
in our own practice, we probably don't record enough.
No.
We are in post-it note mode.
There is a
most of the time
sense
for
in
note
which
taking,
the
and we should probably do more of
But
that.
what I like about not recording is then the danger is it then gets given to the existing UI design apparatchiks, and it goes through that cottage industry again after you've done all this valuable work.
Yeah.
I can see either
You can
way.
lose stuff. Again, if you treat your paper prototype as a specification, the moment at which you throw it over a fence to another team is a moment where you probably made the same mistake as everyone's been making all along. But there is a...
Sorry.
I can't remember what I was going to say, it doesn't matter.
There's probably something about
I just wanted to know, whether in a real session, do you use the green screen and the camera and everything, or are you just working?
No, this
on
is
No,
just us trying
we
to be
just-
fancy.
it. We just fancied a cheap
That's fine.
gag, and we had to show it to
Well, we
someone
needed to
else,
show it
so-
to you somehow, and I wanted to show
Yeah.
Lego pictures.
Yeah.
And he likes doing green screens and stuff. So.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, when you describe a situation where the operators get very involved, do you find that if they contribute ideas that you have to float them to other new operators in order to process them?
So, Matt?
Yep.
One of the things that answers the note-taking question to an extent as well is to try and instantiate the state of play at the end of each test session by altering the paper prototype. Now, sometimes we do that by making sure we've got spares so that we can revert. Version control for paper prototypes is hell, as you can see. You can see our system. But, and there's a lot of mobile phone cameras out to say, well, that was the state there at the end of that test session, and then we cut it about like this with those users, and then we put the first version to test with another group, and then we took the products of those and kind of cross-fertilized them. It's important to note that although we love the notion of co-design, people have different skills and different expertise, and it would be sad to think that none of our expertise in user experience design, such as we have any, which is arguable, count for nothing. That is, you know, those years of practice mean something.
Or to put it more briefly,
Yes.
we promise to listen, we don't promise to do what they say.
Yeah.
Particularly as they often disagree.
Yeah, exactly. Someone has to, but it's good not to have to broker a compromise.
Yeah.
I think, shall we wrap?
Yeah, well, we could do actually. I mean, it is after all 5 minutes after the time we're meant to wrap.
So
I mean,
thank you
if
very
there's
much
any
for
more
listening.
weaknesses that we were those people, we build web stuff, and oh, sorry, yes,
I
no.
have a question. Sorry, food. Would you move this on, once you've done it and you've taken your photographs of the paper design, would you move that onto something like an interactive model and then give it to them to test so they could move through it? Is that the next stage?
So the next stage-
code from paper
The next
Oh, there you
stage
are.
can be straight to code
Yeah.
with a just an alpha, no graphic design yet, for a digital interactive that we test after the first couple of 3 or 4 or how many sprints, or we can distill this out to a combination of wireframe and post-it notes, so we have something we can share digitally with stakeholders.
We're working with some people in America at the moment, and we tend to translate the prototypes eventually into balsamic.
Yeah.
Because they're shareable. You can attach them to a Jira. Wow.
And if you can attach it to a Jira, it means it's going to happen one day.
Just not the way you intended. Okay.
Let's stop there. That was a laugh.
Yeah, thanks.